Today I'm doing tomatoes and peaches salad, and it's two things that we often don't think together, but trust me, you're going to absolutely love this one. This is one of the best things I've ever put together. So we're going to start with about a fourth of a cup of sweet red onion. Now if you don't have red onion, you can use a sweet other color onion as well. Just break it in, slice it thin, break it apart into rings pretty much, and spread it out in there. I'm also going to use a half a pound of ripe peaches, a quarter of a pound of ripe tomatoes, and a quarter of a pound of cherry tomatoes. So we're going to have a lot of color and a lot of flavor that, as I said, is absolutely terrific. So with the tomatoes, these are big slicer tomatoes. Get the ripest ones you can. In fact, this is one of those salads where the condition of the ingredient is critical. So if it's off season, if you can't get the perfect ripe tomatoes, wait till next summer to do this. We're just going to cut this into wedges. It doesn't have to be peeled. All you want to do is wash it off. So cut that into wedges. You may need to cut the wedges in half again, depending on the size of your tomato, because you do want them to come out in pretty close to bite-sized pieces here. This is going to make 4 servings, or 1 if I'm at the meal, because I absolutely love it. All right, with the peach, we basically want to do the same thing, but sometimes the pit in a peach is difficult to work with, so I'm going to have you go down the side like you would an avocado, go down the side like you would the other side of the avocado. Then the pit is still in there, and then you can either slice it thinly that way, or what I'm going to do, because we want wedges, is to just wedge it out. And that way, if the peach has adhered, if it's a cling peach, or if it wasn't quite the stage you thought it was going to be, it's no big deal. Then you can just knock the pit out or cut around it there, and you get a couple of more wedges so that nothing gets wasted, and it all works really, really quickly without the drudgery of trying to get that pit out other ways. Now, as I said, I'm going to have about a quarter of a pound of cherry tomatoes. I'm using all different colors of cherry tomatoes. You've got the red and the yellow and the purple in there from the onion, but we're going to add some other from our cherry tomatoes. Some of those look almost like grape tomatoes, but those are grapes, but they're actually all tomatoes. So that's that. We're just going to now mix together a dressing to go with that. And for that, I'm going to use excuse me, I need to double check here, 1.5 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And again, this is where you're going to break out the good stuff, because this is going to, all these flavors are going to be very pronounced, and you want to make sure that you get the benefit of all of them. I'm going to add to that a teaspoon of honey. And when you whisk this together, make sure you whisk it well, because the honey is going to sink to the bottom and it's going to want to stay there forever. And that little bit of sweetness that you're going to get from that little bit of honey is really going to perk this up. I'm also going to add a 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper, and a tablespoon of vinegar. Now, the kind of vinegar that you use is up to you. I'm using a sherry vinegar. You could use an apple cider vinegar. I probably would not use a distilled white vinegar, simply because it doesn't have the taste that we want, or as much of a refined flavor, but a nice apple cider vinegar would work really well too. You could try a balsamic, but it already has a lot of sweetness on its own, and the honey's giving us that, so we really don't need that. And then just drizzle it slowly over our salad here. You could do this on the platter where you're going to serve. I like to do it in another bowl, because I can toss it a little bit and make sure that everything gets a little bit of all those terrific flavors. And then, because we don't want to lose any of the juices from our tomatoes, and we don't want to bruise any of these delicate fruits, we're just going to toss it really gently. And then it's going to go onto a platter. Again, very, very quick. The only real time was cutting up the fruit and slicing some cherry tomatoes and wedging the other tomatoes. Put this onto a platter. Now, I might, if I was actually serving this, I probably would serve it in a bowl, simply because I don't want to miss any of that dressing. And then we're going to top that with 1 ounce of crumbled feta cheese, which again gives us a little bit more contrast in texture. We get that creaminess, we get the saltiness. And we get that white color there coming off. And then the last thing we're going to put on the top is about a tablespoon of torn basil. Get the last of that on there. So you could do this as a chiffonade. I'm just going to tear it a little bit. This one is really easy. It's really fast. Makes a great addition to a summer meal when all these fruits are at the peak of the season. And if you'll try this one, I think you'll be as hooked as I am. This is tomatoes and peach salad for Oklahoma Gardening. I'm Barbara Brown.